Miss Sands, who was a student teacher at Mrs. Botwell. Mrs. Botwell was my fourth grade teacher, and I was in the slow class. So, preface, this was in Strayhorn, Mississippi, which is part of the Tate County school system, which is in northern Mississippi. Very poor school district.
What year was this?
Well, I was in fourth grade, and I was born in 1971, so this would have been 9 or 10. So this would have been 79, 80, 81. So right around that transition or in that period of time. Again, I'm not very good in math, but anyway. What it boils down to was Mrs. Botwell thought I was dumb or stupid or not able to learn. I couldn't read out loud, which was really strange because I loved to read. And even at the fourth grade, my favorite book was a book called The Swiss Family Robinson, which is an extremely complex book. And the version that it was actually written in a formal English, but it had been translated from German. I believe the story was originally written in German. That was one of my favorite books. I would eat it up, just devour it. And I remember the student teacher came, and she was very young, and she had talked about, well, they've discovered that, kids that are having difficulty learning, it's not that they're stupid, it's just they learn differently. I also had a stutter, and she had said that I had a learning disability, which meant that it wasn't that I couldn't learn, it's just that I learned differently from other people. And I remember at one point towards the end of one of the quarters is they were in the corner and they were having a discussion, and at one point the student teacher got angry and she made a comment along the lines of, Jason is not stupid. You need to realize that he has some issues. We can work with that, and he is actually very smart. And they got in an argument. At one point, the student teacher told Mrs. Botwell that she needed to retire. Now, what you have to keep in mind is Mrs. Sands, I can picture her face quite clearly. She was a strawberry blonde. So ever since then, I've had an affinity for strawberry blondes. Which when your mom and I met, she was very strawberry blonde. So I have to frame all of this. She had told me that I maybe have a form of dyslexia, so it turns out that was not correct. She said that there's different kinds of dyslexia. I can't read out loud. When I'm reading out loud, my brain is literally comprehending the words on the page so fast that my oration can't keep up with it. So she taught me some basic concepts of alternate versions of reading, and my comprehension went through the roof. Now, I do have a stutter. Especially comes out whenever I get tired. But those two things are linked to each other. My mind is moving so rapidly that the mechanical action of me talking gets overrun, and then I get frustrated. So, put a long story short, not only am I not stupid, but I have some amazing strengths. I have an extremely fast reading rate. I read very well. I not only read well, I retain information and comprehend information rapidly as well, because there's some form of neuroscience that says the concept of reading, the concept of comprehension, and the concept of retention are three separate functional realities, and there are variations of the concept of reading, comprehension, and retention. So I read extremely, extremely fast, and I comprehend things very, very well, and I retain things very, very well. And retaining is the ability to recall information or correlate information, which is why I'm so good at trivia.
So why you can just spit whatever you want. Or
Right.
spit facts out.
Right. And the thing was back then, especially in a very poor rural school, there was not only was special education or the idea of learning disabilities foreign to the educational process. When they did begin to come out, they didn't have the resources to do them. So it was very interesting to grow up in that environment. I was able, at one point, I went to a private school for 1 year where everything was reading based. And when I mean reading based, it was a private Christian school that actually used a homeschool curriculum where you had a teacher supervise small groups of people. And of course, homeschool curriculum are heavily reading driven. Well, I flourished in that environment. I did very, very, very well. Then I went back to public schools, and then there was a problem with that. And, or I had problems with my grades, but when they would do the testing, and at the time, by this point we moved to Colorado, every student in Colorado took the Iowa Test of Basic Skills, which is one of the early standardized testing systems. And so in the 5th grade, I tested out to what they call a 9-4. A 9-4 is grade 9, 4 years or 4 months of instruction. So a 9-4 is a freshman with 4 months of experience as a freshman. That's where I'm reading I'm sorry, that was the 6th grade. The 6th grade, that's the first time that I took it.